Hello, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday morning. For some of you, it's getting to be, he can come up now. For some of you, it's getting to be Wednesday afternoon, but welcome. Can you believe it? It is December 1st. Oh my goodness, where did November go? So if you're popping on, please say hello so we know you're watching. And if you're new, if you haven't seen us before, please let us know where you're watching from. My name is Robin, and behind the controls over here is my husband Bill, and we are Raincross Farms Makery, and we've got a little distraction. We've got a fun craft for you today, and we hope you like it. Our goal is to increase our viewers, and so we're trying a few different things. We've been hearing some things about what Facebook likes and what Facebook doesn't like. So we're actually kind of going back to some old school camera shots and seeing if that makes a difference. But if it would really help us out if you are willing to sprinkle the video either on your page, or if you're part of a crafting group who you think would enjoy this, please feel free to sprinkle it. You know what that means, S-H-A-R-E, and we would appreciate it. And we would love it if you would give us just 3 minutes of your time. Did you know that Facebook is counting how long you are watching every video? And if you stay on for 3 minutes, they think, oh, that's some quality content. So if you can hang with us for 3 minutes, at least, if we haven't hooked you at that time, then, you know, go about your day and maybe catch the replay. But we are glad you're here, and I thought maybe I'd be able to read comments, but not really. Let's see, I see Terry is watching, and Cheryl is on. Happy birthday, Cheryl.
Liana's in.
Liana. So welcome, and December 1st, everybody. Hope you've got some sort of a countdown calendar going. I'm going to move our little wreath to December 1st. It's going to be a mad dash to Christmas. So today's project is some cute little simple Christmas tree napkins. I was invited over to a friend's house for dinner, and she had these adorable little napkins, and I was inspecting them and taking pictures of them and measuring them. I had all the guys with their phones measuring how big everything was. And this is the little napkin. It's a half circle, and it's just in the way you fold it, and it's got a little tree trunk right there. And then I went on. Keep getting things popping up on my phone screen. Then I saw some different variations. Same half circle, but a different way to fold it. It kind of gives you a little more variation. So
Hi, Janice.
hey, good morning. Hey, Janice. Hey, Cheryl. Hey, Christina. Awesome. I can kind of see comments over there. So if I'm looking off screen, that's what I'm doing. Okay, so let me show you what you need to do these. At my church, we have a ladies' brunch, and it's coming up on Saturday. And some of the ladies sign up to host us a table. And that means they decorate the table, and they bring the table setting and the decorations. And so these are going to be on my table. So if you go to my church, don't spill the beans. Okay, so what you need for this project is you need 2 pieces of fabric. Something that contrasts. So I picked, because I don't want this to just be Christmas, I picked something that's just kind of woodsy. And in fact, this is similar to the fabric that my friend Anne had on her napkins. It's just some pine branches and some pine cones and a kind of a cream colored background. And then I paired it up with just a solid green. There are so many Christmas fabrics out there now. Find something that suits your style, strikes your fancy, and you need two pieces. 2/3 of a yard of each of them will get you 8 napkins, which is probably all you'd need. If you need more, double that. But also the things that I'm telling you, I have a little cheat sheet that I have available. So if you type napkin in the comments, it will send you a link to the Google Doc that this is in. So it's not to scale, it's not a template, it just kind of tells you about the measurements that I used and the supplies you need. So again, napkin in the comments. So you've got 2 of these fabrics and 2/3 of a yard, 24 inches. And then you'll also need, if you choose, either some fabric, or I just used brown ribbon. This is 7/8 of an inch wide. And you'll need about a yard of that to do all 8 napkins. You can also just do it with a fabric and kind of sew your own little tree trunk, but that's what you'll need. Now let me show you how to make the pattern before we get too far into this, because you will just need, this is what I use to make patterns. This is freezer paper. You could use this, you could use just butcher paper. You just need something that's pretty good size. You could use craft paper, but I'm using freezer paper because it's kind of got a wax coating, so it kind of stands up. It's kind of more durable. So I'm going to fold it in half, and then I'm going to fold it in half again this way. And I'm going to show you how to make a circle pattern without having to scour your kitchen for a pot lid that's 15 inches wide, because that's what we're working on. We're doing a half circle that is 15 inches in diameter. Okay, so I've got this folded in half. Now here's my little point. Okay, let's see. Checking for comments, and now I'm going to fold it one more time. If for some reason the bot doesn't work, I will monitor the comments afterward and make sure you get the information. So I folded it one more time. So this is where it's all folded up, and I'm not going to get out a protractor or any of those fancy tools. I'm just going to get my ruler, and starting from this point, I'm going to measure 7.5 inches, because my goal is 15 inches, but remember I folded it in half. So I'm going to just measure from this tip here 7.5 inches, because that's half of that. And
good morning, Sharon. She's from South Georgia.
welcome, Sharon. Okay, and so I'm just staying here at the point and just moving this along. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. 7.5 inches all along, and I'm kind of making a curve. It's not solid, but it's close enough.
Hi, Wendy.
Okay. So if you can see, that's what I did. From here, I measured 7.5 inches all along here, and it kind of gave me this little curved dotted line. If I don't, you can connect those if you want, but I can just take my scissors and I can just cut from dot to dot. And toss this. And when I'm done, I have a circle. Now I don't need the whole circle, so I'm actually going to cut this in half.
Good morning, Karen.
Because I
She's
just
from Nebraska.
welcome.
We're getting some people from all over this
Welcome.
morning. Glad
Thank
to see
you. I hope you choose to follow our page. Hope you give us at least 3 minutes of your time so your view registers on Facebook, but I hope you stay with us the whole time. Okay, so I'm just going to use half of this, and this will be my pattern. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to put out my fabric. Now, I go ahead and stack the fabric, so I cut them out both at the same time. Okay, so here is, I don't know if you can see, up here is my selvage, and this is my cut edge, and here's my folded edge. Now, if I if my fabric is 44 inches wide, and I get 100% cotton because it launders up really well. You can use something else, but keep in mind it's going to be like a napkin, and if it's like acrylic or polyester, it's probably not going to absorb very well. So I use cotton, and I pre-washed it and pre-ironed it. And if you can see, if I lay one of these here, and I've got some extra patterns cut too.
Hello, Mary.
You can get 4 of these, and this fabric is doubled over. Okay, you can get 4 of these, kind of like a deconstructed circle. I don't know if you can see. You can get 4 of these on this 2/3 of a yard. Okay, so let me just quickly show you what I do. I'm not going to cut all 4 of them because I have some pre-cut. So I'm just going to pin this down really quick. I'm going to end up making more of these than just the 8. Oh, pinning it. Let me know if I'm missing any questions.
No questions.
Okay, and is
For
everybody's...
those who want the pattern, remember to type in napkin and you can get it.
Yes.
It looks like it's been going through to everybody, but I'm watching to make sure it does.
Okay. So again, I showed you how I can get 4 by just taking the circle and kind of turning it inside out. And so I can get 8 of these because this is doubled over, and I have my contrasting fabric under here too, so I'm cutting it all at the same time. And I just cut around that circle. Now this does require sewing, but it's just a straight stitch. It really is not difficult. I suppose you could do it, you could sew it by hand if you wanted to. If you didn't have a sewing machine, you could sew it by hand with just a straight stitch. Okay, I'm gonna set that aside because I don't need that, and I'm gonna take this off. And then here I have, because I had it folded over, I have 2 of the front and 2 of the back. Okay, so I'm going to start it with the center, with the right sides together. So it's all the good stuff is inside. My green doesn't have a front or a back, so it doesn't matter, but my pine does. So when you get this, it shows you the half circle. It shows you that it's 15 inches across this way, but if you fold it in half, that center point, that's 7.5, and that's where we cut. Then there's also a spot here where you're not going to sew. You're going to leave an opening so you can turn it inside out. And then here's a spot for your tree trunk. Now this you might have to kind of play with a bit, but this is what I found with these measurements. And if I use, what did I do with my sample? Here they go. Okay. If I want to do this crisscrossy one, and I want to get the tree trunk semi-centered, I want to go 3.5 inches from the corner, and that's where I want to center my tree trunk. Okay.
It's been a while since we've worked on just the phone. It's been a month plus. You forgot to reverse the phone, the camera, so everything's backwards.
I thought. Well, here, let me fix that.
Good morning, Janelle.
I thought I did. Pardon me. There. Is that better? I'm sorry.
Dawn, obviously I saw your comment. Did you try to type in napkin and it didn't come to you? Is that the problem, or whatever? And Janelle, Robin already warned people not to use this.
Yeah, don't you copy this if you have a
copy.
table. And I don't know, I have lost my ruler.
What did you?
That's
how did
okay.
You lose your ruler?
I don't know,
Is
but
it under your paper?
I have all of this. You know, I have all of this. So, and I'm going to cut a 4-inch strip of this ribbon. Do I have enough time? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4 inches. 4 inches, and I am. Oh, here's my ruler. Okay. So I said 3.5 inches from this edge. and it should work out with the crisscrossy napkin. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold it in half and kind of finger press it. And I'm going to measure about 3.5 inches, and it's curved, so don't worry about it too much. Okay, so I want it centered right about there. That's the 3.5 inch mark. I've got that pinned. And I'm going to put this completely inside and kind of centered on that pin.
Out running. Been out checking on the chickens.
So I've got that sandwiched in there, and then I'm going to pin it in place so I don't lose it when I go to sew. And then I'm just going to quickly pin this up, because I like to pin before I sew, otherwise I make a mess of things. So how many of you have a sewing machine and know how to sew a straight stitch? Let me know. How many of you have a sewing machine of some sort and can sew a straight stitch?
Kathleen says maybe next year project.
Actually, it's not bad. If you kind of you can whip out a lot of these quickly if you kind of do an assembly line. The first one, or if you just did one, it's going to take you 45 minutes. If you do an assembly line, you could probably get all 8 of them done in an hour, hour and a half. Now I'm going to leave just maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches if you kind of have fat fingers, section open, because I need that to turn it inside out.
Good morning, Claudia.
So maybe I should have pinned this on. So I just kind of pinned around the outside. I'm going to remember not to sew right there, and then you can't see it, I've got my tree trunk pinned in there. Now I'm going to switch over. This is where I know Bill is wishing we had the overhead cameras.
That's okay.
But I'm going to just get my sewing machine into the picture, and it's quick. I'm going to turn it on. I've got kind of a small stitch, and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam all the way around. So collect my pins, and I'm going to do a little back tack.
Kathleen says she's had a sewing machine in a box since she bought it 5 years ago.
Awesome. Time to get it out of the box and YouTube some instructions on how to sew. Okay. Again, it's just a straight stitch. The hardest part is going around the curve, but
I was going to say,
this
would probably be a great beginning.
You could show your kids how to do this.
Yeah.
This would be a fun project to do with your kiddos or your grandkids or your nieces or nephews. My 2 boys, I need a drink.
Learned how to sew.
My 2 boys learned how to sew. Of course, Grammy taught them because Mama didn't have the patience.
Yeah, well, my mom taught me on the same kind of a project, really small. In fact, I think I did stuffed pillows or something like that.
Grandmas are wonderful for having patience with children.
That's because they get to send them home at night.
That's true. I don't know where my kids would be if they had depended on my patience. Now, I learned to sew from my mother, but I don't ever remember her sitting down and telling me, okay, do this and then do this. I learned by just looking over her shoulder. I probably asked a gazillion questions, but that's how I learned. And then I can remember her saying, well, here, sit down, do it. So I guess I'm a visual learner. I kind of learn by seeing things. So again, I'm just going around that curve. Now this is where that ribbon is for the trunk. So I'm going to kind of slow down, maybe back up a bit because it's a little thicker there. come around the corner. And when I come to a corner, I don't know if you know this trick, I put the needle down and then pivot so it has a nice crisp, so I'm not kind of rounding the corner. And I like to back tack my corners. And I'm going to remember to save about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches of an opening so that I can turn this inside out. I'm going to trim my threads. I like to trim my threads as I go.
Betty says, my first piece was an apron. I wish I still had that apron. I took 4 years of home ec in high school. You know what? I was teaching high school when they took home ec out of our school. It was a sad day.
And
sad
that's all the sewing machine I need, unless, and there's a couple of options I can tell you about. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to trim these corners. I don't want to get super close to the stitching, but I don't want so much fabric in my corners. So I'm just kind of trimming that down so there's less fabric when I turn it. And the same thing with this outside curve. When I turn that inside out, that's going to be a whole lot of fabric in a little bit of space. So there's two things you could do. You could kind of cut notches in it, or you can just get some pinking shears, which is what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to trim, again, close to the stitching, but not so close that you're going to rip it out. So I'm like maybe taking out half of that 1/4 inch seam. And the little jagged part lessens the amount of fabric that you are turning, if that makes any sense. Kind of thins out your line. And I am using Sentimental, my mother's pinking shears. I have a fancy pair of Fiskars somewhere. Darned if I can find them. They're in a box somewhere. But I found my mom's, and they still work.
Probably better quality.
So you probably can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just trimming around. Am I losing anybody? Are you guys all still there with me? Thank you.
Well, we lost some, but we're still there.
Right. Like I said, if you can give me 3 minutes, I so appreciate that, because that signals Facebook that we are a worthy content. Okay, so I don't need to do that to the straight edge, but just that curved edge, I have gone over it with pinking shears. Now, I'm going to fish in here, and I'm going to start turning this inside out. So, shove my fingers in there, get to that corner, poke it out.
Some people just push all the buttons. So you see an angry face go by.
Oh, no angry faces. No angry faces. If you're mad, let us know.
It's fun.
Okay, so I'm going to use my scissors to kind of poke out those corners to make them sharp, but don't poke it too hard, or you'll end up pushing through your fabric, and then you'll have an icky corner. Okay. So I've got that pushed, and now I need to press this. So I'm going to get my pressing mat, and I'm going to start by just kind of finger pressing. I'm just going to kind of go along, and I'm going to kind of roll those edges out so I'm right up against the seam. I don't want a big gap, and I'm just kind of rubbing it. The heat from my fingers kind of gives it a little press. And
Claudia says she loves the material. I do too.
I do too.
From my perspective, I'm not a napkin kind of guy, but you know what? I like the pine. And
I like it.
Style looks
I
nice.
like it because I'm not limited to Christmas with this. Nothing wrong with something that is very Christmassy. If you're doing it for a kid's table, get Santa and the reindeer and the sleigh and the toys and all that good stuff. But this, I thought I could use this all year long. We actually live kind of out in the country with pine trees. So this could be a year-round napkin. And it's kind of unique because it's a half circle, but it wipes your face just as well as a square napkin. Okay, so again, I'm just kind of rolling this so that I'm up against the seam line. Getting pretty good. Okay. Now, when it comes to this open part, I just kind of fold that over about 1/4 inch, and I just kind of finger press that also. Okay. Now I've got my iron. I have it on steam because that kind of sinks the threads into the fabric, and making sure I've got that seam out. Okay, so I start with the straight edge, and then I'm going to push my way out to the curved edge. Now eventually you'll want to close up this opening that I used for turning. There's a couple of ways you could do that. You could just do that with a needle and thread, or you could top stitch this whole thing, like, you know, 1/8 inch along the edge. You could completely top stitch the whole thing. I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it like this. Sorry, my nose is itchy all of a sudden. Okay, so I will probably go back when I have them all done, and I will just sew up that little opening. And you know, if you didn't, not going to matter that much. Okay, so that is the napkin, basically. Now let me show you the trick to folding it, and this is another option you could do. Okay, so you're kind of looking at this straight edge, and you want to think about thirds. Okay. And I could probably measure that. It was 15, so it's going to be about 4 3/4. Okay, so this is not crucial. Okay, so you're just going to fold that over on the edge here, and then so this is going to be the top of your napkin, this folded part right here, and you're going to fold this back like that, and then flip it over and fold this right there. And of course, my tree trunk is very off center, so maybe you want to move it over a little bit, but it's cute, right? Okay. So that's my little napkin. Now I can take my iron and press those creases. Okay. And another thing you could do, if you want to set in where the creases are, you can go through and you can just top stitch straight down that crease. Okay. So it won't affect the usability of the napkin, but then everyone will know exactly where to fold it. Now you could also do another way. This is actually how my friend had hers, and it kind of makes a difference where you put the tree trunk, but to do that, you just fold it in 4ths. Okay? And that probably is more centered. So you could just do it very simple like that, and it's still, the fabric looks beautiful. Or you could do the crisscrossy that shows both sides of your fabric at once. Now you could change it up. So here's this one. I can take this one and I can fold it the other direction and get a different effect. So here, mostly my green is showing with just a little bit of that fabric. So here's the two. So you could mix them up however you want. So what do you think? Does it look nice? I like them. I'm going to make a whole bunch of them, and I hope you will too. So let me show you how it might look finished. I've got my tablecloth here because I have to practice this for Saturday. So I've got my tablecloth.
Just to
Pretend
back up a
it's-
few of them, Claudia says she grew up using cloth napkins and been using them her whole 47 years of marriage. And her kids and family do the same. Betty said, could you just seal it up with fabric glue?
You could.
Yeah,
You could.
I thought so
Okay.
too. And then you were talking about your nose itching. Cheryl says someone wants to kiss you when your nose itches.
Uh-oh. It's probably Duke.
Probably
My
do.
guess is it's Duke. Okay, so I've got my charger, my fancy charger that I got at Michael's, and I have my Christmas plates. And so I could put this right here in the center. Or I could, this is kind of a lot of green. I could, now here's one that's a little squashier. Depending on how you fold them, you can make them taller or shorter. Okay, like that. Or I can just put it off to the side here. And I've got, look at my fancy gold. I guess
Yeah.
it's not silverware, I guess it's goldware.
Yes, Claudia, she did pre-wash the fabric.
I did pre-wash it, yes.
Yeah.
That way you don't have to worry about sewing your seams and then washing it and the fabric shrinks up and you've got puckers. So I always pre-wash my fabric. So I know this is not the formal way, but I kind of like how that looks. So that's my place setting. What do you think? Do you think the ladies will like it? Or I could just put one like that
Hello
in the
from
middle.
Oregon. Rita says she has homemade pillows out of the exact same
Oh,
material.
really?
Hello from Oregon.
Really? I'm a little concerned. Does yours have sparkle in it? This has glittery, a silver glittery.
Is it a thread?
Which looks, no, it's
It's actually a print on there, huh?
well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of glitter. You're not gonna be able to see it, but it's got a little glitter built into the fabric. I was a little worried that might be kind of rough, but it isn't. You could dab your face, and then you can take it like this, and you put it on your lap, and it's just so dainty. And I don't know if Bill's gonna feel like it's dainty.
I don't want to be dainty.
But
Thank you very
yes.
much.
So this would be awesome for your holiday table. This would be awesome for the kids' table. Use kids' fabric. This would be awesome as a hostess gift. If you are not hosting Christmas this year or you're invited to a party, relatively inexpensive. You can put together 4 or 8 napkins and bundle them up. I should probably turn that towards you. Bundle them up and give them as a gift. That would be a beautiful hostess gift, I think. I would love to get those. So, awesome. We're done kind of early, but that's all right. You could probably go and get yourself another cup of coffee or your beverage of choice and take a little potty break and be ready for the next craft round the clock hostess coming up. I forgot to check the schedule and see who it is, but it's somebody good. They'll have a great craft idea. So I hope you will give this a try. Ordinarily, I am an independent designer for Chalk Couture, and I usually do something chalk related, and I thought, you know what, you guys just need a break. I need a break. So I did a non-chalk craft, but let me pull out, I could easily add this to my centerpiece. I have these trees that I made, that I chalked. So I could kind of have a whole tree theme, which seems to be where I'm headed with this table of mine. Okay. So easily paired with any of your home decor, an actual Christmas tree. Anyway, I like it. I think it's great. I hope you do. Again, if you want it's not a template. I mean, so it's probably not to scale, so don't try to blow it up. But it just kind of tells you the measurements that I talked about. 2/3 of a yard, and that's 44-inch wide fabric. 2 colors, 2 contrasting colors, whatever colors you want. And that will make 8 napkins. Okay? And if you weren't at the very beginning, I showed you how you kind of deconstruct the circle, and you can get 8 napkins out of 2/3 of a yard, and a yard of 7/8 inch wide ribbon or some other fabric that you could kind of sew into a tube. Okay? And then here's your measurements. You start with that 7.5 inch radius circle. So again, it's not a template, but it gives you, hopefully it gives you the numbers, and you might need to kind of play around before you actually sew in that trunk, because mine's a little off. So you might want to pull it over a little bit more, maybe closer to 4 inches. Maybe I was supposed to have the edge at 3.5. Anyway, that if you type napkin in the comments, my bot should send you that link, and I hope you will choose to follow us, because we have great videos. We've been doing them every day, but we've finished that challenge, so we might not be going every single day, but we go pretty often with lots of craft ideas. So if you're interested in following us, you can just, if you're on your phone, just punch me in the forehead with your finger, and up will pop Raincross Farms Makery. Punch on that, and then down below it should say follow if you want to follow our page. There'll be a little bell if you want notifications right before we go live. And if you're already following, it will say following. So we'd appreciate that if you would follow our page. We're trying to get to 1,000 followers by New Year's Eve, which is a big goal, but it seems like every goal we have set the last couple of months, we have blown out of the water. So we are hopeful to get 1,000 before New Year's Eve. So we would appreciate it if you would be one of our first 1,000. And if you liked what you saw, please don't say that word. Sprinkle it. Be a rainbird, a Raincross rainbird. Get that rainbird sprinklers. Sprinkle the video to your page, to a craft page that you're a member of, and help us get our name out there. And we would so appreciate it. So thank you so much. We're done a couple of minutes early, so have a little extra recess.
Say goodbye, Duke.
Say goodbye, Duke. Say goodbye, Duke. Duke, he didn't really show up much in the video.
Kitty showed up, and I tried to bring her over. She was having none of it.
There's Duke. No, you can't be at the table. Okay, well, have a good day, and we will see you. Hopefully, we'll see you maybe tomorrow. We'll have a video. So, thanks. Bye-bye.
You can't reach it with Duke, huh?